Thank you everyone for being here with us at this particular time. My name is Cleel Rosen. I'm the rabbi at Congregation Eitz Chaim, and I want to thank family for allowing me into this sacred space with you during a difficult time. The custom at the cemetery before we move into the formal part of the service is to take a moment of silence. That's one of the ways in which we mourn our loved one. And so I'll invite each of you to take a moment of silence. And while you're in that moment of silence, I'm going to recite the Tziduk Adin, which is a series of biblical verses that expresses our sorrow and our sadness around the loss of our loved one, but also our recognition that God has some sort of infinite cosmic plan in mind. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lekachishim, Adonai Merach, V'hulach, V'chavravo, V'layesh, Yechid, V'yirba Shiva Po, V'lo Ya'ir Kol Chamatohu. Another way in which we mourn is to recite words from the book of Psalms, from Tehillim. And I'm going to chant from Psalm 121. I'll chant first in Hebrew and then offer an English translation. Shir Lamalot Esaheina El Harim Meyayin Yavo Ezri Esaheina El Harim Meyayin Yavo Ezri Mehim Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz Ezri Mehim Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz Al Yitei Lamot Raglecha Al Yanun Shomrecha Hine Lo Yanun V'Lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yaminecha Yomam HaShemesh Lo Yakeka V'Yareach Balayla Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Raha Yishmor Et Nafshecha Adonai Yishmor Tzedcha Uvecha Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. A song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection. The guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm and guard your life. Adonai guards your going and coming now and forever. So we're here today to offer our tribute of gratitude and to recognize a wonderful person, to Rita, whose name in Hebrew is Risha Bat Zev Dov V'Pesya Braina. Rita was born on June 15th, 1929, and she passed away on January 4th, corresponding to the 11th of Tevet. She was preceded in passing by her parents, Benjamin and Polly, her husband, Meyer, otherwise known as Spike, her son, Carrie, her brother, Maurice, or Mo, and sister, Cecile. We want to offer our sincere condolences to her children, Brent and Anne, and to her daughter, Lisa, as well as her daughter-in-law, Leora Solomon, and to Madison. I was going to say her treasured being her granddaughter. At this time, I'd like to call on Lisa, who has prepared some words about her mom and will speak on behalf of the family.
My name is Rita Pearlman, and I wanted to say some brief words about our mom. Her death is the end of an era for our family, yet her legacy of laughter, sense of humor, her commitment as a mother and bubby, and most of all, her resilience, perseverance, motivation to see yet another day is what we will carry on for the rest of our days to come. Mom loved being a mother, and together with my dad raised 3 very independent children who she was very proud of. Carrie, the lawyer, Brent, the businessman turned realtor, and Lisa, the nurse practitioner. Mom welcomed Leora, the Solomons, and Simon's Deli into our family and always considered Leora another daughter, with Fritz and Malka her family too. The birth of Madison was completely life-changing, and Mom took her role of bubby very seriously. She really believed that it was she who taught Madison to walk. Mom was a huge part of Madison's young life, babysitting at a moment's notice and taking Madison every Friday afternoon for lunch when she was at the campus, playing with her for hours and going to all of her recitals and performances and bearing witness to all of Madison's successes. The two of them spent hours together. Madison had a whole Barbie set up at her bubby's condo, not to mention all of their outings going to parks and other venues. There was not one ask of my mom that she wouldn't do for her sunshine. Anything that had to do with Madison was so important to her bubby. In later years, it was common to see Madison and her bubby laughing hysterically in my mom's apartment. She really enjoyed having fun. Mom also cherished the visits from the Kogan Shaker Hill family as Lansing and London just to drive away. Knowing that they were coming, Mom also had to get an order of U.S. items that she could not get in Canada. Family first, but shopping a close second. In her 50s, Mom found golfing, and the Glendale found my parents. Mom was a talented golfer, playing in tournaments and achieving 2 hole-in-ones in her golfing career. Golfing continued as my parents became Hawaii and then Palm Springs snowbirds for many years. We remember my mom's sense of fashion and her pride of what it meant for her to look good. In the earlier days, collars were always up, her hair done weekly, 2-toned blonde, of course, matching jewelry and accessories, dark long nails, and always lipstick. In the late 70s, early 80s, she was not a fan of my own slow-to-fashion journey of overalls and Birkenstocks, I can tell you that. Nor did she like that her 36-year-old daughter was much more gray than she ever was at that time. And then when she was in her 90s, she was still rocking the matching zip hoodies and the various shades of leggings and capris. Northern Reflections and Giant Tiger were her people. Going shopping was still magical and brought her so much joy. And in her senior's Jewish apartment building in London, she wore her title of Village Fashionista proud. Where food was concerned, my parents were the generation where they would, quote unquote, go out for a bite to eat. Something my mom continued to enjoy for the rest of her life. Coffee had to be very hot or it quickly became, quote unquote, ice cold. She also never, ever, in her whole life she never finished a whole cup of coffee. Mom had long friends that she had for a very long time, and she was the lady who lunched from the early days on Forest Avenue to later on when our parents moved to Tuxedo, where Ray and Jerry's and Tuxedo Village were her hangouts. For meals, we remember Mom's signature pepper steak, sweet and sour meatballs, kasha shells and compote, always on the table, whether we were home for Friday night dinners or at Auntie Cecile's or the Solomons for Yontif. It's no family secret that my mom, not a wine drinker, needed to put her signature sweet and low into the wine, and God help us if it was Splenda or another brand of sugar substitute. On the rare occasions where she did drink her sweetened wine, sweeter than Manischewitz, she became very giggly, and I have video to show. That leads into our mom being a brand name versus generic consumer. Simply orange juice and raspberry lemonade, it had to be. Tropicana and no name would just not do. She would not consider any generic for any item, which became very challenging for me when I would go shopping for her during the early part of the pandemic. It even extended to her garbage bags. They had to be from Home Hardware, pink drawstring, and not the ones with handles. So every time I would return to her apartment with her goods, I was very scared, and I would fall to my knees begging her to understand the pandemic supply issues, to which she would just laugh and laugh. We remember Mom's great sense of humor. She used to tell me that her family doctor told her, the more she laughs, the longer she will live. Mom was funny, witty, quick to laugh at herself, and at times she would FaceTime me and start laughing before she could even speak because she wanted to tell me something funny. In her later years in London, Mom was still so energetic, fiercely independent, motivated. She loved living alone. She loved the TLC channel, Facebook, and Instagram, even though she told me she had nothing to do with how she possibly was following 400 people. She loved her iPhone, which provided her with hours of online card games. In July 2021, our mom broke her hip and she rehabilitated in record time. She never had a thought or a doubt that she would not be able to live alone, and she was right. What she loved most was to have visits in her apartments from those she loved and getting out for some fresh air, as long as there was good conversation, laughter, and of course, shopping. And after each of my many visits, she would text me that she always had so much fun. We cannot talk about my mom's resilience without talking about her beloved Carrie, buried here since 2005. Mom missed Carrie every day. She talked about him all the time and was comforted that she would be with him again. His death was her greatest loss. Mom rallied around my brother for many years and unconditionally did things for Carrie, and would often say she wished she could take on his medical problems to ease his own suffering. She drove Carrie to work every day when he could not. Mom would do anything to make his life a little bit easier. She even coped well when Carrie finally told her to stop bringing the Tim Hortons coffee because he wanted Starbucks instead. Birth is a beginning and death is a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, to youth to old age. Our mom had a full life and lived to her old age. May her memory be for a blessing.
Thank you. You told me earlier that wherever you go, people recognize you. But I think it has less to do with your stature, your physical stature, and more to do with the profound words that you offer. So, your mom left this world last week when we in synagogue were reading from the Torah reading known as Parshat Vayechi. And it's the last story of the book of Genesis that brings to a close the life of Jacob. And while this story marks Jacob's death, I think we can reflect, as we honor Rita, on the title of the story, which means, and he lived, or she lived. And Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory teaches us about this portion. He says, if you want to know what a book is about, look carefully at how it ends. And Genesis finishes with meaningful lessons in what shapes us as people. And the vessel is not monetary, not political, and certainly not about power. It is quite simple. It starts in the family, deeply rooted in the trials and tribulations that are part of the human condition. And I think that's what your mom's focus was, connecting to her beloved family and loving them unconditionally. So we want to thank God for offering us this blessing in the form of Risha Bat Zev Dov Pesya Braina. May her name continue to be a blessing. What we're going to do now are the remaining rituals. I'll give you some instructions in a moment. First, we take earth and place it on top of the casket. And then we, after that's done, I'll recite the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer, and that'll be followed by the chanting of the mourners, or recitation of the mourners Kaddish, the mourners prayer. All of this is under the guise of under the heading of a chesed shalamet. It is the purest form of kindness that we can offer our loved one. So for someone who lived her life giving out kindness, I think that it's most appropriate that this is the way that we usher her into the next world.
So you'll see that there are multiple shovels here. There's also a very lightweight shovel for anyone who would like. People can do this simultaneously. The way I will instruct you to do this, but choose to do what you want. I take the shovel and I hold it upside down, and it's a way to tell God that I'm disappointed with God's decision in taking our loved one. But because, as I said earlier, God has some sort of positive plan that I don't necessarily we acquiesce and we place the earth on top. Begrudgingly. That's at least the way we do this first shovel. And then you can turn it over. Then I would encourage you to do with an ordinary grip, to do it 2 more times. And then we're careful to place the shovel down and allow the next person to actually move into the sacred space. As I said before, there are multiple shovels, but I'm going to ask Ben and Lisa and others to come forward.
Friends, I'm going to ask for us to regroup again, and just to let you know that if anyone would like to place additional earth on the casket once the formal part of the service has concluded, you are of course welcome and encouraged to do so. As I promised Brent, I said before I chanted the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer, I would just say one or two things about this prayer. So the El Malei Rachamim is a plea that the soul of the departed be granted menucha nechona, proper rest. And through our prayers for our loved one and through their good deeds, we hope to earn God's compassion for the departed souls of those who were dear to us. So I invite you again just to take a moment of silence as I chant the El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim Ashochein Bamromim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina B'malot Kedoshim Utorim K'zohar Rakia Mazirim Nishmat Risha Bat Zevdo V'Pesya Braina Shalcha Le'olama B'Gan Eden Zehei Menuchata Ana Bala Rachamim Hastireha B'Setek Nafecha Le'olamim Utzror B'Tzra Chaim Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachlata V'Tanuach B'Sholom HaMishkava V'Nomar Amen. And of course, the most well-known prayer in our Jewish canon of prayers, I think, is the Mourner's Kaddish, which is written in Aramaic. It's supposed to be written in a language that everyone used. I'm not sure how many of you speak Aramaic. Thank you for laughing. I think laughter is permitted. But the reason behind the fact that it was in that language is to say that sometimes the holy language of Hebrew, for those of us who don't live in a Hebrew-speaking society, sometimes what's in our kishkas, what's in our guts, in our heart, is best expressed in the language that we speak on a regular basis. So it was done in Aramaic. And the idea behind the Mourner's Kaddish is that we reflect on God, and in that reflection we hope that our loved one finds perfect peace in God's embrace. So together with the mourners, we're going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal, Yikadash,
Shemei Rabah,
Amen.
V'amad yivrach yiruteh v'yamlech machuteh v'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kariv yimenu
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabah Mevorach Leolam Amei Amaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudisha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiron be'alma ve'imru
Amen.
Yehi Shalom Rabah min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom b'mromav v'yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Amen. Before we conclude, I just want to make two announcements on behalf of the family. As you know, tzedakah, giving to charity, to a charitable organization, is also another way to mourn the loss of our loved one. And so the family has asked that you consider making a donation to the University of Manitoba Faculty of Law to the Rita Pearlman Endowment Fund. The other thing I'd like to mention is that the family will be gathering together on Zoom tomorrow at 6:30, and if you can, without inundating them, please see Brent or Lisa about those details. And lastly, I want to say to you both, but to everyone who's mourning the loss of your mom, we say these words of comfort that are traditionally offered to those who are sitting Shiva. And I'll offer it first in Hebrew and then in the English translation. Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch shar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God, who is referred to here as the place, whatever place you're in, that's where God is. So may God continue to grant you comfort amongst all the mourners of Zion, Jerusalem, and throughout the entire world. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. I hope you stay warm. And if you'd like to place additional earth on the casket, you're free to do so. Thank you.